Okay, folks, please have your seats. It's time to start. Okay. All right, I call to order the Meet the Candidates for GRF, Golden Rain Foundation. This is a special open meeting on Friday, October 18th, 9:30 o'clock in the morning, and we are in the boardroom of the community center. I don't believe we have any other press, but we are being recorded by Granicus, and we are live on TV6. And it will be rebroadcast on TV6 a number of different times after today. So hopefully gets out to everybody. Your moderators today, I'm Juanita Skillman. I'm the first vice president and interim president of GRF. And this is my swan song because I'm leaving in a month. And we also have Joan Milliman, who is the secretary on GRF, and she also is leaving in a month. So no conflict of interest here. The first thing I'd like to do is to acknowledge the United GRF delegate who was appointed by United Mutual, and that's Ellen Leonard. Ellen, if you'll stand, please. She doesn't have to go through the questioning. All right, we have a number of candidates, and they're not all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Allison Bach could not be with us. She's in Argentina? Portugal, okay, wrong continent. And Gary Durst was not able to be with us, but they both have given us their statements, so we'll be putting those in. We also have Bunny Carpenter, Donald Hopman, Yvonne Horton, Manohar, is that how we pronounce it? Yeah. Okay, Motwani, Brad Reinhardt, and Martin Rosa. And as usual, we start out with our candidate statements. Each candidate is asked to prepare a 3-minute opening statement, and we go by, I don't see the numbers, so. Okay, all right, we'll start over there with Yvonne.
Are we ready to start then?
Yes, we are, Yvonne Horton. And timing is being done by our assistant corporate secretary, and the timing will show on the screens.
Okay, I appreciate that. Are we ready? I'm Yvonne Horton, and I'm running for the GRF board again because I believe I still have something to offer. My GRF experience makes me uniquely qualified. Understanding the trust in the governing documents for GRF is paramount. As a trustee and a board member, I clearly understand my responsibilities. My goal is to keep our community relevant, using best practices to keep our facilities in good repair. My board experience mostly is in recreation. I have always tried to improve that experience for the residents. I also understand the importance of our clubs and listening to their input. Serving on the GRF board and overseeing a multi-million-dollar annual budget demands a business background. Besides my 30 years senior management experience at Boeing, I've owned 2 businesses, and I was on the board of a not-for-profit mutual benefit corporation called Silver Bronze in Costa de Casa, also a gated community. I consider my 8 years on the Silver Bronze board training for GRF. My first assignment there was to prioritize and categorize repairs. It took 7 years and millions of dollars to rejuvenate the facilities. Not unlike Laguna Woods Village, Coto had many of the same amenities, just on a smaller scale. But what differentiates Laguna Woods Village from all other senior communities is shared cost. Without shared costs, we're just another housing development. I think that my extensive business experience meets the challenges of overseeing our clubhouses and our recreation facilities. I've been the chairperson for the Community Activities Committee, the Maintenance and Construction Committee, the Landscape Committee. I've also sat on an ad hoc committee for the Equestrian Center. I'm an advocate for our community. I enjoy living in Laguna Woods, and I want to preserve all of our amenities, and that's why I volunteer. Thank you.
All right, our next statement will be given by number 2, Martin Rosa.
Thank you. My name is Martin Rosa. I'm currently the first vice president of GRF, as well as the chairman of the Broadband Ad Hoc Committee and ITAC Committee. My qualifications to be reelected on the board include a bachelor's degree in electronic engineering technology with advanced engineering certifications from George Washington University and the FCC. My engineering career applicable to the committees I chair include design and installation of a fiber optic network that featured on Lightwave magazine. I was the design authority of the nation's first all-digital radio control system, as well as a task group member writing the standards for digital radio public safety, where I ultimately designed and installed the nation's first positive train control network on Metrolink. I'm seeking re-election on the GRF Board of Directors because I have some unfinished business that I feel the best qualified to handle. Next generation technology is affecting all the departments of VMS servicing Laguna Woods Village. For the committees I chair, First Broadband, many are wondering, what are you guys doing? All I can say at this time is that we have done our research to develop a strategy going forward that will deliver to our residents cost-effective, high value, and service. We are at a critical step in the process, so allowing me to wrap it up and roll it out is extremely important. For the other committee I chair, ITAC, we have met some successful milestones with Phase 1, and right now we're in the middle of rolling out Phase 2 for the new cloud-based Microsoft 365 ERP system utilized by VMS for their business software. I'm grateful for the relationships developed with the other directors on GRF, VMS staff, and the mutuals, as we have forged trust and synergy in forwarding our causes to sustain and improve our quality of life in our special retirement resort. I've done some travel over the last 2 years, and I keep saying, why go anywhere when I have so much in Laguna Woods? From being a broadband advisor to chairman to GRF first vice president in a little over a year, I am hoping I am bringing a positive vibe to the committees and mutuals I serve. Yes, I serve because a good leader is one who can demonstrate how to serve. I've got more work to do, so please let me at it.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, number 3 is Brad Reinhardt. Brad, if you'll give your opening statement.
Thank you. My wife and I bought a manor in 2022, and we spent a full year doing a renovation. That allowed me to see firsthand the process of alterations and landscaping, as we took that over our landscaping of the exclusive rights portion as well. Last October, I joined Third Board and have worked with finance, landscaping, chairing M&C, ACSC. I'm on the Water Committee also. I feel like I've developed an excellent working relationship with the members of Third Board. I've also been assigned to GRF Finance as part of my role on Third. I'm running for GRF role because I believe that there needs to be better communication between GRF and the mutuals, who provide all the financial support for GRF through monthly dues and transfer fees. I personally voted against building a new office building to replace Building E. I was disappointed and concerned that GRF would try and spend $6 million on a new office building without the vote of corporate members. Eventually, GRF was required to do that, and it was voted down. If we're going to build something, it should be a new state-of-the-art facility for residents, not staff. We need to get resident activities out of the existing building so VMS can fully utilize this building. I would like to look at building a new state-of-the-art facility for ping pong and some of the other activities, which could also be utilized to host events and generate revenue for the community, and more specifically meet their needs better. I'm also opposed to GRF increasing HOA dues. GRF needs to live within the very generous means at their disposal. We all live in a 60-year-old community. Both the mutuals and GRF will be spending considerable money on infrastructure in the coming years. My background in manufacturing, and specifically in renewable energy construction, will be a helpful background for that spend that we have coming up in GRF. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brad. All right, Manohar, you're next. Would you give us your opening statement?
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Manohar Motwani. I came to USA in 1962 as a student, and I got my bachelor's and master's in engineering and MBA in managerial accounting at Wayne State University. My first job was to engineer the air conditioning and heating systems in company called Austin, and later on I moved to automotive industry in the new emerging field of computer-aided engineering as a technical manager. During 1967 to 2021, I served as a vice president and president of HOA in Troy, Michigan. And later on, I joined the HOA in West Bloomfield, Michigan. And we started annual wetlands cleanup because people were throwing garbage in these wetlands. We also started something called a progressive dinner, where we would go to different homes and try different foods. In addition, I served as a treasurer for the Indian temple in Troy, Michigan, which was the biggest temple at that time. And I also served as a volunteer at Henry Ford Hospital, and currently I am on the board of India Club at the village. My wife and I moved to the village in 2022. We enjoy the wonderful amenities in the village, and like golf, swimming, pickleball, and so forth. And all the social activities. The village is vibrant, and with a very active senior community and all the social clubs. And this was a big draw for us to move here. Unfortunately, with a large organization, there's also a lack of accountability. One of the biggest difficulty I see is if we need to get some work done for the repair or maintenance, it takes effort. You have to call them many times to get it done. So this is not right, and I think we need to address issues like that. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Donald Hopman. Donald, would you give us your opening statement, please?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a little different. I'm not a board member right now. I think I'm uniquely qualified for handling a board position at this time, considering the needs of the association. Right now, I think this is a great place to live. And there are two major problems that I feel need to be attended, and I think I'm uniquely qualified to pursue those needs. The first is that we have a problem with an increasing rate of costs for each of us. The monthly fees are going up quite high. I know inflation is a problem, and that's something that we have to learn to live with, the inflation part of it. But it could be that there are parts of the problem that can be attacked that will help to reduce costs. The second thing is what people complain about a lot, and they feel that sometimes the application of the Davis-Sterling Act rules and regulations are not fairly applied, and that tenants and residents are not fairly treated. And some of that may have a basis. And I think what we needed is somebody who could do a good job of attacking the evils of bureaucracies which want to grow and grow and grow and become more and more expensive, and their duties and functions are not fully evaluated. I have a 42-year experience in law enforcement, most of it with the state of California, although I did start out as a deputy sheriff in Sacramento, and my degree is in public administration with a specialization in law enforcement. Mostly, I was involved in the regulation of businesses and professions. In the Department of Consumer Affairs, they regulated approximately 60 of the major businesses and professions that require licensing and certification. It included all the healing arts, accountancy, yacht and ship brokers, almost everything you could think of, contractors license board, structural pest control, and that division is centralized so that the Division of Investigation does the investigation for all the boards and bureaus and commissions. I retired in 1998, and at the time of my retirement, I was chief of that Division of Investigation. During the course of my stay with the state of California, there was a huge scandal in the state mental hospitals, which was referred to as the questionable deaths in the state hospitals. And
Member,
the
time is
governor
up.
authorized a contract between the Department of Health, which had responsibility for the state hospitals.
Okay, Donald, your time is up. Can you summarize real quick?
Pardon me, okay. And I became head of a task force to investigate over 1,300 deaths. And we submitted a complete report with recommendations that I'm credited with helping to reduce the number of deaths in the state hospitals.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, and the next candidate is Bunny Carpenter.
We have Gary Durst on Zoom.
Yes, I have him. Thank you. I added him at the end when I saw his face up there.
I can start. Excuse me. So my name is Bunny Carpenter, and I'm going to be speaking from my heart here.
Gary will be.
I was on the GRF board and president for 4 years. Excuse me. And I had to resign because I went on a world trip for 4.5 months. And I didn't feel it was fair, for me to be on the board and not participate. And so I resigned at that time. I have to tell you that I really missed everybody. I missed being on the board. I missed working with staff. And I like being on the GRF board. And so I'm coming and asking you again that I would really like to serve again as a director. And I think my history speaks for itself, as I was serving for 9.5 years as a board member in Laguna Woods. I was on the third mutual for 5.5 years, and then I was in GRF as president for 4 years. And during that time, we had many projects, and I think one of the biggest projects that we have right now is the broadband. And even though, I was resigned, I was still on a broadband committee as an advisor, because I had served so many years with it. I started from the very beginning, and I want to see it through. So I'm asking you today, based upon my business experience, based upon my experience with the board, I'm familiar with David Sterling. I'm familiar with all the policies and procedures. I'm familiar with all the operations of Laguna Woods Village. I probably have that knowledge more than anybody that I know, except for my friend, Yvonne, because we work with the people and communicate with the people, and I think that is a really important. So while I was on the GRF board, I was part of the ERP project, which is the operating system that we'll be using pretty soon. That was one of the big projects, and I also helped to update the GRF bylaws. I was on the committee for the Equestrian Center, to bring it back to its glory. And also, for modifications for policies and procedures for harassment. And then on the third board, when I was there, was developing the standard terms and conditions for contracts, developed the purchasing policy that is used by GRF, United, and Third. And I also collaborated with purchasing the development of the internal purchasing manual. So I guess I need to close. And serving on the boards, I have developed leadership, interpersonal skills, gained knowledge of the Laguna Woods Village business structure, organization, maintenance, and money management. I am uniquely qualified to serve on the GRF board because of my business background, knowledge of policies and procedures, civil code, and legal contract skills. Thank you.
But not time management. All right, I see on Zoom we have Gary Durst. So Gary, would you give us your opening statement, please?
Good morning. Aloha. Sorry I can't be there in person, but I committed to this project last February. By now, hopefully you have all seen my 300-word statement and most of you have gotten a copy of my resume. I also recorded a 4.5-minute video presentation last week. For those reasons, I won't go into detail about my employment history. In summary, my employment history is almost evenly split between public and private employment, and again, between union and non-union organizations. I served for almost 2 decades as a member of the senior staff of an organization not too dissimilar to VMS, but I also spent a similar amount of time in organizations that were driven by the need to make a profit. That background means that I am used to and enjoy working collaboratively with other decision makers, and I understand the need to plan for future needs and opportunities and not just maintain the status quo. During my 20 years of retirement, I have owner-built 2 new houses and have done major renovations on 4 other properties. To accomplish those projects, I researched building methods and materials. My homes were built more like commercial buildings, utilizing steel rather than wood for structural components. I sourced, hired, and coordinated the activities of everyone from architects to specialty construction subcontractors. This experience will allow me to understand the elements involved in GRF construction and remodeling projects. I feel the need to be as frugal with capital funds as with operating funds. For instance, money not spent on the security building could be used to install solar that could power clubhouses and offer opportunities to put charging stations close to housing in the near future. Those installations could eliminate paying SCE's ever-increasing electrical costs and thus reduce operating expenses. They could also provide the power that will be needed for all of the battery-powered maintenance equipment that will be mandated in the near future. I see the need for all boards to work together to provide our members with the best possible living experience at the lowest practical cost. That will require collective thinking outside current boxes. I would appreciate the opportunity to be a part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Yes, and we do have Allison's statement, and Joan will read Allison's statement for us.
The serious and challenging job of the GRF Board of Directors is to keep up the Laguna Woods Village national and international reputation for excellence in this 60-year-old age 55-plus community. Active community service is important to me, and I became involved with the United Board as soon as possible after moving here. In contribution to the GRF Board, I can offer expertise as a fiduciary to manage money and resources for the greatest good, success in turning contentious situations into teamwork, open, frequent, and understandable communication to members even when difficult, rational decision-making and creative problem-solving based on the facts, acceptance of the workload involved, and willingness to do it. Technology, time, and resident lifestyle choices beg for a refreshed interpretation of what GRF offers. There is an annual inflow of 5+% of new members through resales, rentals, and co-occupants. Are we keeping up? What attracts and satisfies members? Pretty photos of an aspirational lifestyle aren't necessarily what people themselves experience every day. GRF controls enormous financial levers, collecting a $7,500 trust fee upon every resale and $35 million in 2024 in annual assessments. This money, plus reserves, must be spent wisely and equitably for the common good. As evidence of competency in management, please consider this history in Laguna Woods Village and other HOAs where I've served as, in Laguna Woods, I was president of the United Board of Directors from 2023 to 2024, and as an active director from 2021 to 2024. My committee participation in United included Finance Committee, Maintenance and Construction, Ad hoc for Investment Policy, alternate for member hearings, and for GRF, I served on Mobility and Vehicles, the Ad hoc Space Planning Committee, and Broadband, and I was an alternate for others. I've been president and treasurer of other HOA boards outside of the village, including a large cooperative in New York, and a waterfront condominium in Jacksonville from 2001 to 2021. If elected, I promise to do my best for the GRF board. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we will go to the questions, and each question will have a 2-minute answer you have to respond. Some questions will be for all of you. Some questions will be individual to the specific candidate. And we're going to start with an all question. So I think I'll start over here with Bunny this time. We don't want Yvonne to feel picked on. So, Bunny, on what GRF committees do you see yourself providing the most benefit to the community, and why?
Okay. My background is purchasing, so 35 years of procurement really helps me in making good decisions in regards how the money is spent. The broadband committee, is one that's being worked on right now, is very valuable to our community. It's a committee that's going to be changing, to fiber and I'm nervous here, so I'm sorry. So I see myself on the broadband committee, and I can also work very well with M&C. In my career and with working on the boards, I have worked with the different projects. I will work with staff. And I know the process and the procedures basically for whenever we build something and what it requires for the RFP and the purchasing process. Do I have my 2 minutes up? Okay.
Not quite. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. There you are. I thought we lost you, Gary. The same question to you, please. On what GRF committees do you see yourself providing the most benefit to the community, and why?
Okay, there are 2 committees in particular that I think I could be of good service on. One is the maintenance and construction, and I went into my background on that already, so I won't deal with that much. The other one is the mobility and vehicles. For those who haven't seen my resume, that the time that I served in an organization similar to VMS was with Public Transit Agency, Omnitrans out of San Bernardino. We had over 700 direct employees and 200 contract employees for paratransit. We twice won Agency of the Year for our size while I was there. I was intimately involved in everything as the director of, first as Director of Personnel and Safety, and then later as Director of Admin Services, which meant I had all the contracting and IT, never got away from dealing with the union negotiations, et cetera. I was involved in purchasing. As a matter of fact, I headed a project where we built the world's first hybrid gasoline electric 40-foot transit bus. And that was, believe it or not, over 20 years ago. And that vehicle wound up being cleaner by 20 times than a compressed natural gas. So anyway, I'm really familiar with that whole environment and think I could be of service there.
Thank you, Gary. All right, the next individual question goes to Donald. Joan, would you give him his question? We're going to intersperse those.
I overused my time allocation
just a
on the
minute.
opening
Okay.
statement, so I'd like to finish up a little bit about of that and show how it applies here.
Excuse me, stop, please. Just a second. I'm sorry, Donald?
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes,
if you could pause for a moment, they need to repeat the question.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
Right? Okay, here we go. Again, the question is, on what GRF committees do you see
Yes.
yourself providing the most benefit to the community and why?
Yes. As a single committee, I would be most interested in security. But I would have an interest in many of the committees because I would like to lend my skills toward taking a look at the bureaucratic expansion of all the committees in the association. In my experience at work, when I took over as chief of investigations for the State Department of Consumer Affairs, in my very first year, I reduced the budget by over 15% and increased efficiency. That's the kind of thing I think we need that can help to offset what happens in inflation and will hold back our ever-increasing costs somewhat. We can't control inflation, but we can control the way we spend the money that we have. And that applies to every committee, although I would primarily like to be involved with security because I don't think anybody has a better background than I do with enforcement. As a matter of fact, when the task force was formed to investigate questionable deaths at the state hospitals, Governor Brown told me his staff said that I was recommended to lead the team because I might be the best investigator in the state at the time. I think that translates to dollars and cents. But the other thing in enforcement is that we have a rule of law. And the rule of law is supposed to be effective at getting everybody to cooperate and abide by the rules and regulations. That also applies to the people who administer the rule of law, but they don't always either. And I think that any organization that's going to be operated effectively for the people who live by it and are served by it, the association itself has to abide by all the rules and regulations. They don't now.
All right,
And-
thank you.
and
Your
we should
time is up.
Change that. Thank you.
You need to watch your little clock. All right. Our next question goes to Manahar, and it's the same question.
Yeah, based on my experience and education, I would like to serve on the maintenance committee and the mobility and vehicles committee, because I'm going to focus on the communications, the fiduciary responsibility and accountability, and communicating with the residents. So I don't know how many committees are there, so wherever I can use that background, I would like to serve. But I want to make it easier for the residents to enjoy their life in the village. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Brad, you're up next, same question.
Yeah,
Do I need
I
to-
think
you want
probably
me to
M&T
repeat
and
it?
finance are the primary two. Not only am I involved in a construction company now, I'm involved with, our primary customers are LA County, California Department of Government Services, and the federal government. VMS is in the process of changing their purchasing policies and plans, and I think I was very helpful in trying to make that change and get a broader base of contractors to bid on our work, act more like a city from that perspective, and like I said, have a broader band of contractors and not necessarily single source everything. You know, in some of the instances, we probably should use 2 or 3 different contractors for some of the larger scale contracts. So I think that'll be very helpful. I'm also interested in looking at the revenue share, how we charge the entire community for some things and what the individual user is for some things, specifically for all the recreational activities. I think that's something that needs a deep dive so that we understand what that ratio or percentage should be. And I think our spend is, like I said, we have to live within our means. I think Gary brought up a very good point on looking at solar installations. One of the things that people may not realize is the capital cost of installing solar becomes very economical when you consider that utilities are going to increase their costs 4 to 6% every year for the next 25 years. And that's just to keep providing the same level of electricity, not to increase that level of electricity. So I think it's really important that we look at renewable energies for the village. And we're frankly reaching a point where we're going to have to rewire everything anyway. So as that becomes a reality, this is the right time to be looking at that. And I think I can contribute quite a bit on M&C. Thank you.
Thank you. Martin, you're next.
Thank you. Besides what I've done with broadband and with the ITAC, excuse me, I have a soft spot for the PAC entertainment system that we're revamping right now, and I've made it known that it's like I really like these video boards that all stages are putting up now, and that the whole new venue of artistry is being introduced for entertainment. That, you know, right now we sit in the PAC, we see that tiny little performer down there, and that's all we see. You know, especially if you're sitting in the way back, but with the video boards that you can put in the back and on the sides, you can, broadband TV could help them create a whole new, like I said, a venue of artistry to make that a more pleasant experience. I also have a heart for public safety communications and our security system. I was looking at this space planning a lot differently, that I wanted to make sure that our security system has what they need in order to be able to maximize our safety aspect. We've had a couple of close calls in the past few years here with terrorists as well as with fire. Supposing that transformer in Laguna Niguel had exploded, on our property and started. Do we have, besides Code Red, do we have, an evacuation plan for that? We do the shakedown, but do we have a good evacuation plan? I want to make sure that our security system and that everybody has in place, knows what they have to do in order to be able to depending on the disaster, know what they got to do, whether they shelter in place or if they got to get the heck out of there. So this is my passion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Yvonne, you get to wrap it up for us. What GRF committees do you see yourself providing the most benefit to the community, and why?
Well, obviously CAC, okay? I've been on CAC for a while. I think that helping the clubs and reach their potential, and I believe that clubs are the backbone of our community. And without them, we wouldn't have the entertainment and the recreations that we do have. I think that, and the other thing that makes that possible, besides the clubs and all they put in, which I appreciate, is our shared costs too. Shared costs allows us to have all of these amenities. And I don't think that anybody will disagree with me on that point. So anyway, I've also, my husband and I, years ago, we built condominium complexes. So I know a little bit about building. I know about budgeting on building. And so either one of those committees would be, I could handle anyway. But recreation is where my heart's at. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we have some individual questions, and we'll start out with Manohar. Can you describe the governance structure in Laguna Woods Village?
The governing structure, we have, the governing structure looks like we have 3 different boards which control the administration, but then the real operation is done by VMS, which runs the operation with the help of all the 3 boards and GRF. I think that's what I know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Joan, do you want to give Gary?
Next question is for you, Gary. What governing documents establish GRF's responsibility and authority?
Are you talking about the trust documents?
Yes.
Okay. I will admit that I have just begun to really review that, and, but I know that makes this community unique and there's only, 2 or 3 others that have the same trust setup as we do here.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, this question is for Donald. Donald, what are some of GRF's responsibilities?
As I understand it, GRF's primary responsibility.
Turn your microphone on.
GRF's primary responsibility is the oversight committee for regulating all the other boards, that they have the final say, that the other boards work with GRF. But sometimes, even though I'm applying for GRF, it's one of the committees, boards that I think need to be reviewed strongly for what they actually do and whether all of that they do now is absolutely necessary. I think a good leader is willing to do away with his own job if he can control the costs and for the benefit of the association that's being regulated. In my background, in addition to working 2 major organizations in the state, I have a lot of experience with investing. I've invested in stocks, bonds, precious metals, and real estate, from the building of income properties to the financial investing in real estate. And I get to see a lot of activity from government agencies in all of these endeavors, and means that I have a good handle on when bureaucracies get out of control and try to do things that they really don't need to be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is for Martin. Would you?
Martin, how do the mutuals participate in supporting GRF's carrying out its plans?
Say that a little louder, please.
Yes. How do the mutuals participate in supporting GRF's carrying out its plans?
There's the mutuals are the corporate members. The corporate members decide who's going to be up here, and that is the responsibility of the mutuals. The corporate members decide on when the GRF, which it's interesting, GRF over the mutuals, that's, I'm sorry. The GRF being the common, we handle all the common territories, infrastructure, roads, security, the staff, community center, the clubhouses, the PAC. When there's renovations, when there's big projects that need to be done that are above a certain level, we need to go to the corporate members for a vote in order for approval of that. So the corporate members that are made up of the mutual boards they're critical to what the decisions that are carried out by the GRF board.
Thank you. Okay, next question for Brad. Brad, what is the difference between GRF's operating budget and its reserve plan?
Well, similar to the mutuals, the third also has a reserve. The reserve budget is designated there for repair and replacement of existing capital requirements. The operating budget is there to actually operate and pay for the routine or regular operation of the different entities, clubs, golf course, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. All right, Joan, would you give a question for Bunny?
Bunny, you may have heard the phrase shared cost used to describe the services and amenities in the village. What does that mean?
The shared cost is for the amenities that everybody uses. I have it on. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I didn't have it. Okay. So your shared cost is basically everybody, every unit, it's every unit, not every person, contributes towards the cost of the amenities and the clubhouses. It's just for GRF. And if you will look at the Green Book, okay, which is online, you will be able to see how much of the shared cost goes in for each of the assets that we have, like the equestrian center, the PAC, and all of the other items that GRF oversees. Is that enough? You want more?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Bunny.
All right. We have a couple of questions that were given to us by corporate members. I'm going to use the first one first, and this one is to all of you. Please give us details on how you would improve communication among the boards and within the GRF board. We'll start over with Yvonne.
With Yvonne.
Yeah.
Yikes. Well, that communication, it starts at the committee level. There are members from each mutual on each committee. And I would think that they would report back to their respective mutuals what's going on at the committee level to GRF, from GRF, if I'm making myself clear. Anyway, I don't know that there is a real communication problem. It's more that we aren't listening to one another, if you understand. Because all of the information can be gotten from your respective board members on the committee. They can bring that back to the mutual membership or committees or board. And it's all, you can watch the committee meetings and find out also what's going on. I don't know that we have a communication problem. I hear we have one, but you have a question for me? I'm an open book when it comes to communication with the CAC and GRF. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, Martin, same question. Give us
you're
details
cor-
on how you would improve communication among the boards or within the GRF board.
Yeah, that's part of my closing statement. I don't know if that. Yeah. At any rate, so I look at, we're all like, in a continuous quality improvement environment, we're all different types of communicators. Some are kind of more dominant than others. Some are, they make sure all the ducks are in a row before they say one thing, We have to accept that in every one of us, okay? That we all communicate a little differently. Yvonne is correct that the board, the work is done at the committee level, and that all the boards are represented there, and you've got an opportunity there to really represent your board and to put forth your ideas and what that subject matter is with respect to that board. So, yeah, you've got the duty to go back to your board to share what is going on with respect to your committee. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say for right now about this, but there's more to follow. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Martin. Brad, would you answer the same question, please?
Sure. For third meeting prep, one of the things we do is we have the VMS board members that we've appointed come to our meeting prep and keep us up to speed on what's going on with VMS. I would offer to do that as a GRF representative and attend a portion of the third meeting prep so I can keep them up to speed on what's going on with GRF. Yeah, you can attend meetings, as Yvonne said, but I mean, the amount of meetings is overwhelming in each of the different boards. So I think being able to be there and provide concise answers would probably be more beneficial for the board. And I would assume that United would probably, whoever's on GRF from United would offer to do the same thing for them and keep them informed that way. Thank you.
All right. Manohar, the same question. How would you improve communication among all the boards and within the GRF board?
Yeah, to improve the communications, I would send the representatives from GRF to all the board meetings, the United Third and the Fifth, whatever the other one is, and also have them attend the GRF meetings, at least one person, so that they know what's going on, and they would also know. So both ways, that would improve the communications instead of trying to hear it in the rumors or in the Globe or whatever. Thank you.
All right, Donald, the same question?
Communications can always be improved. The biggest problem in communicating is that in bureaucracies, there's a tendency toward a lack of transparency. People, when they're indoctrinated and accept positions of responsibility, have to be well instructed about the importance of transparency. If there's no transparency, there's really no communication. And this business of secrecy is disastrous for an organization. It's what undermines confidence in the organization. I recently attended a meeting because I was curious about it on a recall here, and everybody was in the audience was upset with the intention to recall people without the cause of the recall being noticed or notified. And there's a provision in the law that calls for that, but it destroys transparency, and there's a certain unfairness about that part of the process. So I would work on when people are indoctrinated into the as a board member or as a new board member, that they really understand about the need for transparency and to avoid secrecy, except in extreme personnel matters or stuff of that nature. It should be put aside.
Thank you. Gary, do you understand the question? You want me to repeat
Yes.
it?
No, that's fine. I understand that communication is a two-way street. It isn't just what you say, but it's what's heard. And so you have to, when you say something, you have to get the reaction of the people that you've talked to. Do they understand the point that you're trying to make? And if not, you gotta try another way. To the question is whether there's an issue, I think what has recently transpired with the security building shows that there is a disconnect between GRF and the mutuals, because obviously on that large project, the mutuals voted very strongly that they weren't happy with what GRF was doing, which tells me that GRF failed in its communications with the mutuals because they weren't on the same page. So I feel that you got to know who your audience is. You've got to know how to speak to them and check to see if they got the message that you're trying to send, and you have to listen to what they're saying. What are their concerns?
Okay, thank you. Bunny, you have the same question?
So I don't know if everybody's aware, but we have communications that goes out to every single residence in this community. You have the What's Up, and you also have, especially for GRF, they have the president's message that goes to every single person in this community. So there are two areas that I think that can be improved as far as communication. And one is because the mutuals have representatives that come to the committees for GRF, is that we train them to basically go back and give that information to their boards. They are supposed to do that, but I've been on so many committees that it's not always done, and I think we need to express that. And the other part is maybe put a band on TV and say, read, you know, read your What's Up, read, you know, because the information is always there. And I do have to tell you that we're guided by David Sterling, which is state law. And there are so many laws that require transparency, and we follow David Sterling. We do everything possible, and everybody knows me. We follow the rules.
Thank you, Bunny. All right, we have one more question from the corporate members. Would you read that, please? Joan, and this will be for everybody. Bunny, we'll start with you.
Start with
Okay,
Bunny.
start that, say that again.
So, would you be open to new ideas on issues such as security and transportation, which save money and provide better services?
I think any director on the board needs to be open to new ideas for transportation. Transportation has always been a subject, okay, because people see the buses running around and they say there's only a few people, and so we must change it. I can't tell you how many times that we reviewed it and changed it. And I will also let you know that when we tried to eliminate the buses, we had this room filled, another room up there filled, and this whole community in here, everybody came in. People come here because of the bus system, whether they ride it or not. And they feel that when they get to a point, you know, in their life that they can't drive anymore, they have the bus system. So even though that it costs a lot of money, you know, it is something that people come here for, and we need to offer that benefit. But there's always ways to look at things to see how we can improve what we have. And what was the other one, the bus system and
Security.
security? I'm actually proud of our security department. I have to tell you, they try to work within a very small budget. we worked with them in the past to basically see if they could reduce the vehicles, which is a really big expense, for all of us. And they have worked hard to be able to reduce and to change some of the ways, that they use their vehicles in order to reduce that cost. But people, I don't think thoroughly understand what our security people do. And they are not, the sheriff. They can't, they don't have the authority of the sheriff.
Okay,
But, okay,
You're done.
I think security's great.
All right, Gary, you're next. Do you want to repeat the question,
Yes, please.
John?
Would you be open to new ideas on issues such as security and transportation, which save money and provide better services?
Yes, I would. As a matter of fact, I would like to explore, and this maybe could well be controversial, and not saying to do it, but at least check it out. See if we could work with the city as far as transportation. As a governmental agency, they have access to county, state, and federal monies that we can't get our hands on. For instance, Omnitrans, 90% of the cost of all of our vehicles and facilities was paid for by the federal government. I think that at least warrants being checked out to see what possibilities might exist in that way. Security, I had an incident that caused me some concern with the security. It had to do with a vendor coming in and that I had no knowledge of. He ran a light and I got ticketed. And I said, if I go to school, are you going to teach me how to control my vendors? And they said, no, they didn't. And I said, well, is this punishment or are we working on safety? So I do have some concerns in that area. I'd certainly be open to considering anything in that area. And I don't off the top have any ideas on how we would do it cheaper.
Thank you. Donald, the same question?
In government or in quasi-government agencies, new ideas are often rejected because people are afraid it's going to negatively impact their jobs. I think, and as I said earlier, and I saw a lot of blank stares out there, that a person who is in a position of authority in a bureaucracy should be willing to even risk his own job and do away with it. If a new idea shows up that says we can do better, we can increase effectiveness and pay less for it. And that applies to security too. Security here is really excellent in what they do for the association, but any bureaucracy has this undeniable desire to expand, and they all expand beyond their need. And a good close look at that could rein it in. I think there is a lack of really diligent oversight. And I think that's something that I could really help with.
Thank you. Okay, it goes next to Manohar.
Yeah, I think we have to keep our mind open to any suggestions to improve communications or save money, and we make it easier for the residents to live and communicate. So I would be willing to look at any changes which are offered from the members or the residents. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you're up next, Brad.
Thank you. I'd like to look at piloting an on-call transportation system as opposed to regular bus routes. I think that might be a viable alternative. I think security is fine. I would say in a hypothetical situation where a resident hypothetically ran a stop sign and hypothetically went and saw the video and saw that he did it and paid his fine, I think they did a great job. Just hypothetically, of course. But one thing I would like to see is some of the gates be open with scanners only and not necessarily guards there all the time. I go out of gate 5 and I have to wait till 7 o'clock to go to work every morning, so I have to drive all the way through half of the area to get out. But I do think that if we had some type of gates, we still need people at the gates to let vendors in, obviously, but I think there could be some remote access that way, which would, reduce the need to have manpower there for extended periods of time. The other thing I'd like to look at as far as transportation within the community and as a whole is most of you realize that Amazon has people looking for addresses all over this place. I can find my way home now, but I've been here 3 years. But one of the things I'd like to look at is when you look at transportation costs, the last mile is what's considered the most costly portion of that. I think we should look at developing a distribution process so that we would take in goods from certain vendors and have a distribution network ourselves. I think we could make money at it. I think we'd do a better job of it, and I think we'd have less people running around here, looking for addresses, delivering to the wrong areas, and frankly, people that are in here that we don't really want to be in here. So I would like to look at piloting that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Martin, do you need the question repeated, or?
My mic won't let, there it goes. Yeah, definitely open to, ideas that would help, the bus services and security. The bus services is, you've got scheduled, and now you've got, there's been so many advancements done with this because of on demand. It's, we've got so many more opportunities that we could get ride and share rides. So there's got to be like a healthy balance there as to, you go with something scheduled or you want something on demand. And also, too, the means of powering the buses. I know that there's a lot of liquid propane that's used that is very, ergonomically favorable. As far as security, soft spot for them, I want to know that they have the communications they need to be able to get whoever they need here, whether it's FEMA or the county or the city or the state. I want to know that they've got the connections and that and for security, they need to improve their baseball team. We've beaten them twice now. And so they need help. Thank you.
All right, Yvonne, you want to finish up that category?
Sure, repeat the question again, so.
Yes.
Certainly.
Would you be open to new ideas on issues such as security and transportation, which save money and provide better services?
Of course. We're in the business of saving money. That's what I think our charter is, to keep our costs down. If it is the bus system or any form of transportation that comes in here, or security, we need to look at them. I'm open to any suggestions, whether it be about security, cars, bus system, or recreation. I listen to all ideas. Some of them, they're just recycled ideas, and a lot of times people don't like to hear that, but it happens. Anyway, that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. All right, we've got time for one more corporate member question. And again, this is for everybody, and I'm going to start, Gary, with you. What steps or actions would you take to build trust between GRF and the mutuals?
Well, again, it's a question of communications. Part of it, I think, is you don't surprise people. If you've got, first you come up with preliminary plans or whatever, You communicate that, you get the reaction, you find out what people like about it, what they don't like about it. And then you go back and work on that. It's often going to have to be a compromise. You're gonna have to figure out what works best for everyone. But in the end, GRF has to remember that they basically report to the mutuals. Because if you wanna make a large purchase, the mutuals can veto it, as they did recently. So you need to work from reality and realize that you may think you've got the greatest plan in the world, but if you got to sell it, if you don't sell it, you're out of luck. So, like I say, I think a lot of it has to do with going out when you're in the preliminary stage, getting the feedback at that point, realizing what the concerns are, and dealing with them. And I think that would help a lot more.
All right, Bunny? Do you repeat the question? What steps or actions would you take to build trust between GRF and the mutuals?
Get to know your directors. I think if you get to know your directors and you understand them and communicate with them, that helps to build trust. And I think and everybody who knows me knows that I like to reach out to everybody. And I always wish that all the boards get along. And I think that if we communicate with each other, get to know each other individually, basically, that helps to build trust.
Okay, thank you. Donald, the same question?
Yeah. Trust is an ongoing thing, and it's easily destroyed. It doesn't take many instances where people feel wounded by the handling of an issue that's important to them, and it's hard to win that trust back. I think education of the people who have responsibility, for example, of handling complaints, even if they think somebody is a little cranky or a little overboard in the way they present their complaints, if you're have the responsibility for handling complaints, you've got to take them seriously. And sometimes they are. The people who are making complaints don't communicate all that well, and it's easy to get tired of that sort of thing, but you can't. You have to keep winning, understanding that the trust relationship is at stake. And that requires training of the staff. Sometimes there are attitudes among board members, I think, and I even noticed it here when I made a comment about what the perception is of GRF's position with respect to the other boards. If you talk to other board members, they feel, and they will often say, that their hands are tied by GRF. They will say that. That's what board members do. And when they do that, that causes trust in GRF's position to be lessened. It's important that everybody be trained about what their responsibility is and how they handle these kind of complaints, and just not dismiss them. Thank you.
Manohar, same question?
Yeah, to increase the trust, we need to increase the communications between the boards and the GRF. So I would ask all the boards to invite the GRF to their important meetings or their committee meetings, so that we understand each other, what's going on, and how we can help each other. I think so that will work both ways. The GRF will also invite them to come to our meetings. So that's all I can think of. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brad, would you need the question repeated?
No.
Okay.
You had asked a question earlier of someone else, how the boards interact with each other, which was interesting. I'm pretty sure whoever set it up was laughing as he left the parking lot. But I kind of look at it this way. I view the mutuals as Congress, right? They approve the spend. And I view GRF as the White House. Our job is to implement that spend and do it appropriately. But at the end of the day, GRF is funded by the mutuals. The reserve is funded by the mutuals. You can shake your head all you want, but that's where the money comes from. And I think we need to do a better job of listening to the mutuals and seeing how we want that money spent. Again, Congress appropriates 12 bills and gives the money to the White House to spend. And that's kind of how I view this. And I think it's really important that GRF starts to take into account how the mutuals want the money to spend. Because we're going to be spending a ton of money in this. This place is 60 years old. We're going to need to do streets. We're going to need to do wiring. We need to get into renewable energies. Gary brought up a good point. People are going to be switching to electric vehicles. Is it the mutual's responsibility to provide power to charge those? That's a question that we've been having in Third. We don't have gas stations on site. But we do have some level of responsibility to providing energy to charge those because that's the direction it's going. So I think that having someone from the mutuals who's served on mutual boards is important. I think Allison also will bring that perspective from United. I think I can bring it from Third. But I think that that's really important. And that's kind of how I view the interactions.
Thank you. Martin, would you like the question repeated, or?
Trust starts with me. I have to earn your trust, okay? I have to have the character, and I have to have the relatability to be able to communicate with you, to understand you, for you to understand me. We all, the mutuals, they have their struggles, okay? And GRF, we have we had our struggles too, but it starts with being able to listen to each other and to be able to, understand. I don't want to get into my closing yet, but we have to take the time to understand, what's behind the issue that is being set forth, a lot of it has to do with character. We are, if we're serving the boards, the mutuals there, and incidentally, our HOAs that we pay, there's a segment in there where, goes to GRF for their operating budget, the transfer fees goes to the reserves, and then, of course, a segment of our HOAs goes to the mutual, and that's how the mutuals are funded. And that's how the GRF is funded. But I know that though there are struggles amongst the mutuals that I need to listen to, but it starts with me. I have to earn your trust. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Yvonne?
What all of them said. Open communication, that's all I gotta say. We have to be able to communicate, and communication is a give and take. I say something, you've got to listen, and then I've got to listen to you. Most of the time what happens is that we're thinking about what we want to say before, and not listening to what the other person is saying. So all I can say is open communication. And most of the time, it's worked for me. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. We've got one more question. Joan, it's for everybody. And I'm going to start with Bunny.
Well, the question I have, is there a question you were not asked?
No, the one before that.
You got it. Oh, sorry. Here it is. What do you perceive to be the biggest GRF challenge for the village, over the next 10 years? And what might be a possible solution or solutions? The biggest challenge.
Bunny?
I know what the biggest challenge is right now. And we have the biggest project that we've had in years, and that is our broadband. You know, TV is changing, streaming is changing, and we have to change our infrastructure here. And broadband is in the process of being able to do that. And I think that particular project, you know, will actually shape our future and how we communicate, how we do streaming. That's what I think is the most, because I want to add something to it. You know, I listen to all of these people, you know, is what they think are suggestions for GRF. And a lot of them are not familiar with what is already been done to help reduce the costs. You don't see GRF going and building buildings again. I mean, we do have the security building, but instead of, you know, redoing the park, redoing, you know, all of these clubhouses, we went and we didn't have to reconstruct the Clubhouse One. And Clubhouse One was remodeled, you know, on the inside, no construction except for the fireplace. And so it was able to do for a minimal cost. So GRF's position has been to help maintain and update. It's not rebuilding anymore, as you can see. So there's been a difference in the way GRF has been spending money and maintaining the facilities that is asked for us to do by the trust. I forgot where I was going on this, but I've heard so many things here. I want to invite everybody to be able to go look at the Green Book. If they don't understand,
It's your time.
okay,
Your 2
I
minutes
could
is
go
up.
on and on, so I'm sorry.
All right, Gary, do you want the question repeated?
No, I don't believe so. I think the issue for a decent amount of time, and it's gonna be it's always an ongoing issue because of the fact of the turnover on all of the boards. And that's, you know, establishing the trust and getting everyone to agree generally on the plan ahead. You know, where are we going? What I haven't seen, maybe I've just missed it. I haven't seen 5-year plans, 10-year plans. Where are we going? Do we continue to just do what we've always done? Or I've listened to the pickleball discussions, et cetera, and versus things that were more popular when this place was started. We've got an issue of average age is 79. We sell ourselves as an active community, but probably half of our people aren't very active anymore. There's a number of issues, but I think we need to work on a forward-looking plan. Where are we going, and get everyone to sign on to that. I think that's a major need.
Thank you. Donald?
10 years is a long time ahead to think about. But the issue should always be, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years ahead or back, is establishing priorities. We will never have enough money to do everything that we would like to do and that we think would improve the value of the properties and take care of everybody's special interests. You'll never have enough money to do that. So I would make the first priority, whether it's for next year or for 10 years from now, as safety. And safety, for example, is like when we first moved here, which was 4.5 years ago, we bought an apartment at Gate 14, and we were on the 3rd floor. And we found out later on that all of the 3-story buildings have a problem with flooding when the rains come. And that's a safety issue. People have gotten hurt already by slipping on the wet ground and falling and getting injured. And probably correcting it is, it's a tough problem, and it's been one of cost. I have looked into it. I mean, I'm not an expert in the area, but I know that there are new technologies out there now where they use 3D printing devices and reformulating concrete waterproof seals that may be of use here. So I would like to see that pushed to the front and see if we can't correct the problem with lower costs, and maybe even getting prices on it reduced by cooperating on an advertising scheme with the companies that do the work. That's such a big thing, that kind of safety thing, that we have people who are older stepping out of their cars into water is not a good thing to do. And there are other things like that.
Thank you. Manahar, do you need the question repeated?
No,
Okay.
thank you. From what I've heard, there seems to be a problem with the money. There is not enough funds. They keep on borrowing from the reserves and then paying back. So we just doing this accounting tricks. So we need to look at our expenses and plan them properly. See where we can cut and modify, so that we can meet the amount of budget we have, or whatever we get from HOA and transfer fees. So I would, that seems to be the main issue is make sure that the expenses meet the money coming in. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad?
Could you repeat the question again?
Certainly. What steps or actions would you take to build, no, I'm sorry, that's the one before that. Yeah, you want to read it.
Okay, what do you perceive to be the biggest GRF challenge for the village over the next 10 years, and what might be a possible solution or solutions?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for GRF and for the mutuals is going to be our infrastructure spend. Broadband, as Martin and Bunny had brought up, is going to be very expensive, but very needed. You talked about the 3 stories. They need to be repiped. We're going to need to run electrical throughout the entire facility. So that spend, managing that spend, spending it wisely, anyone who's sitting in here thinking we're going to spend less money, I don't think so. I think we're going to be spending more money, but we have to spend it very wisely and get the infrastructure done that needs to be done. Because a lot of stuff is a major issue right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Martin?
Yes, it's really cool. The next GRF meeting, there's going to be a presentation done on broadband that you gotta see it. It's going to be great. That's my biggest challenge over the next year, is to create an education program that's going to roll out the new technology. Kudos to Debbie Dotson and with her Let's Talk Tech, that she's been hitting on this for over a couple of years, about the way that things are going. That is my immediate need, is that rolling out this awareness and education program for the new technology that'll be utilized for broadband. Over the 10 years that I know that there's going to need to be additional renovations that are going to be needed to be done to the clubhouses. We're going to, because they're just that old now, and it's going to be needed, like what we did for Clubhouse 1. So more of that is going to be needed to be done. We just got to keep the roofs from leaking, But the main thing too is that I have your trust that the corporate members' trust, as well as the members' trust, that this is the best direction to go. That based upon all the ideas that have come forth and all what the work of the committees have done, that this is the best way to go, and that not to try to throw a monkey wrench in it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Yvonne, would you finish us up there?
Well, In my opinion, it's power. We need to do something about our generating power. Our electric bills for our commercial building is going up 10% a year. It's a lot of money. And our housing mutuals, your rates are going 8.5% this year. I don't know what they're going to be next year, depending on what the PUC says. So I think that putting in solar wherever we can is the answer. And I'm just talking about GRF. I can't say what the mutuals should do. The mutuals have their own problems. United has problems with their water. They need to find a solution for that. GRF needs to cut cost in, I think, electricity. Third has their problems too. We have a nice reserve account and we can tap into that for those improvements as we go along. Anyway, that's where I think we should go, is power. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just, we've had a number of questions and some of them were individual, so I'd like to ask each of you, is there a question you were not asked that you would like to answer? Yvonne?
I certainly didn't get any trust questions. You know, what does a trust authorize us to do? You know, and it authorizes us to take care of these facilities. That's what it does. So I wanted to make that known, that that's GRF's job, is making sure that the facilities are in good repair and that we have recreation for all of the people that live here and want to enjoy them. You can do as much or as little as you want here. And that's what I wanted to say.
All right, Martin, is there a question you were not asked that you would like to answer?
I'm thinking about the trust and that the GRF board is we are the trustees to the trust. And that, you know, we have to abide by state regulations, the Davis-Sterling Act, and the regulations that are written forth by, you know, I believe the mutuals write the regulations. So we have to make sure that those are enforced. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Brad?
No.
No. Okay. Manohar? Was there a question that somebody else answered that you would like to answer?
No, I wanted to focus on the people asking for repairs and stuff. I think I want to make it easier for the residents to ask, to request. So maybe online, because right now I see, you know, we have to ask them 3-4 times before they do anything. So that's what I would like to focus on, and you know, nobody asked for that. Thank you.
Okay. Donald? Is there a question that was asked that you would like to respond to?
I would just like to, I spoke quite a bit, I thought, about trust and the secrecy and what it takes to gain confidence from people. One of the ways of improving trust is to get personally involved in correcting problems that come up and that people see you're giving energy into the problem. In our buildings, and when we first moved here and we had the flooding and there was no immediate solution to it, I got a wet, dry vacuum and went out there and vacuumed up all the water myself and swept it out and got it dry as fast as possible and left no water for people to trip over, and the other residents of the complex took note of that kind of thing. In my investing situation, we had an investment in a 24-story building where during the 08 collapse in the economy, they started stealing money. And so I had an investigative background and put together a package, and we brought the feds in, and we filed charges, and then got a class action lawsuit going. And the upshot of it was 2 people went to jail, 1 for 10 years on fraud. And in the lawsuit, we made a case against the property manager of the property, and we were able to get a $100 million settlement for 5 buildings plus ours, which had a lot of victims. But it was the first time in a long time where people who were involved in a class action lawsuit got the full amount of their investment plus back. And that kind of thing, there was 2 of us who were the principal complainants in the suit. Trust was for everything and anything.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
I don't know that it was a direct question that anyone got, but an area that I don't think has been brought up today too much is the difficulties that we have in communication with members. A lot of them are not computer savvy. That they came in here and retired long before living on your cell phone or whatever was a way of life. There's also language issues. Just look at the Green Book. A whole lot of people are not that kind of savvy. Communications need to be broken down to what do we really need people to know, and how can we convey that information to them? And I think that's a major challenge, and I don't know that that's being addressed with enough emphasis.
Thank you, Gary. All right, Bunny? Any question that you?
I have a lot. No, but I guess I have to invite people to get to know GRF better. I also want to invite people to understand the processes and the procedures based upon how they participate. Everything is transparent. You can find information anywhere, if you're interested. And any resident can find information. They can request records if they want records, to see what the minutes are. I mean, and so this community, every board, really concentrates on communication. But what I get really concerned with is somebody saying that, the mutual boards need to have more say. They have a lot of say. They're invited to every budget meeting. They're invited to every single meeting that GRF has. They can participate in everything, how the money is spent. And they just need to understand and try to get to know GRF better. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we appreciate answers to all of our questions, and now it's time for the closing statements. And we'll go back to number 1, Yvonne Horton.
Thank you. As everybody knows, I like to keep everything short and sweet, so here it goes. As a board member, I would never jeopardize our corporation financially, and I would always follow the bylaws and the trust. I recognize the importance of our membership and my responsibility to them. In keeping a senior community relevant, I would keep the senior community relevant by maintaining the facilities, and those are my goals. Our clubs are the backbone of the community. Helping them achieve their potential, I see as one of my jobs as a board member. We live in a country club on steroids because of shared cost. GRF past and present boards have been careful with your money. I take pride in the fact that I have been part of that process. I'm an advocate for this community. I live here. I want to preserve all of our amenities, and that's why I volunteer. Thank you.
All right, your closing statement, please, Martin?
Yes, I've not agreed with all the results of the votes our committees have performed, or the board, but I certainly do respect them. We all deserve that mutual respect, and there's no pun intended, but it's important to exhibit it first. I deplore and I come against any back-channel links designed to, as I heard a candidate say, sway the other directors. We need to trust in the work of the committees, that the committees do, what they bring to the boards, and then how the boards vote on the resolutions. Like, and the committees are searching for new business. You've probably heard this term. I want to see more brainstorming done, so that at the committee level, where there's no bad ideas. You throw the mud on the wall and you see what sticks, and then you formulate ideas from that, and where there's problems and solutions can be developed. My motto's always been that the buck stops here. Don't just introduce problems, but interject viable solutions. I like to roll up my sleeves and make things happen, knowing it's not always what you know, but who you know. I respect the vote of the corporate members and can work with the various leadership entities across the mutuals and the corporations to improve our community and enhance its value. So please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. All right, you're next, Brad.
That closing lived up to the expectation, because I've heard about it 3 or 4 times now, so very well done, thank you. The only thing I would say is I've really enjoyed working with the third board over the past year. And the reason I'm looking at moving towards GRF is really twofold. Number one, I feel like the communication between the mutuals and GRF could improve by having people that have served on those boards also serve on GRF. But even more importantly, my background in renewable energy is more relevant to the GRF facilities than it is to the individual mutual. Obviously, I'm a proponent of solar energy for the individual units. I plan on putting it on my own still. But as Yvonne brought up, the cost of energy is going to do nothing but continue to go up. And utilities are going to do nothing but fight to keep as much of that pie as they possibly can. A very good example of that is the fact that there's 10 of the 3-story buildings in Third Mutual that SCE basically put solar on and is, generating revenue and selling it to us, at much more than we could have if we'd have just put the solar on ourselves. So I think that looking at solar, looking at EV charging, especially in the community property areas, is going to be very important. And I think when you do the cost analysis of the capital upfront cost to install solar versus the cost of increased utility expenses over the next 25 years, and that's really the life expectancy of solar, I think it's going to be pretty easy, and the payback is going to be there. And I think that I can really contribute to that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Manohar, your closing statement?
Yeah, if elected, I will strive to focus and work on improving communications between all 3 mutuals, the VMS board, and the residents. I will also use my previous experience of working in HOA environment to bring fiduciary responsibility, improve financial accountability, and much needed communications with my fellow members of the board and residents. With improved accountability, I'm sure our village will thrive and people will be happier. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Donald, your closing statement?
I think it's pretty clear that all of us agree that this is a great place to live and that for the most part, things are done really well. To me, that doesn't change the fact that we have to spend more attention focusing on those things that are not done that well. It's true that the Davis-Sterling Act controls a lot of what we do, and that for the most part, it's observed to the letter, but not always. And sometimes when it's violated, it's in critical ways that destroys trust. And so that's a thing that I would like to pay attention to. I commented in my remarks that I personally get involved with things that are going wrong and that have not been taken care of by the association. And I would still have that kind of attitude toward the work. I think I get involved in a lot of different things, investments and law enforcement things and construction and all of that is in my background. But I really jump in on going after things that are really violations of the law. And I do it without sacrificing the rights of people who are accused of anything. Some of my greatest satisfactions in law enforcement was getting people exonerated who deserve to be exonerated and not bringing charges against people who shouldn't have charges brought against them. But on the other hand, following the rule of law is important for trust to remain and to have an enjoyable place to live. And we're seeing some places in our society as a whole where we're sacrificing the rule of law and we're having great discourse. That can happen on a smaller scale too.
Thank you. All right, Bunny, what's your closing statement?
I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm asking for your vote to get on the GRF board again. I think my track record and my background speaks for itself, and I feel that I can contribute, to the GRF board based upon my background, history, leadership, and the knowledge of the village. So thank you.
Okay, Gary, do you want to finish us up, please?
Sure, thank you. I love to dig into details, use the zero-based budgeting theory. Should we just continue to do what we've done, or should we look at what the other options are? Most of everything I see is a plan to keep doing what we're doing. And in most cases, that's going to be the right way to go, but not always, and needs to be checked on. My background is a senior executive, included being on the union negotiating committee for 18 years. If you want to talk about people that have to get together that don't start with the same priorities, that's exactly the environment that you're talking about. You have to listen, you have to give and take, you have to work yourself to mutual agreements. And I've got a long time of experience doing that. I would say in closing that I would agree with everyone else. We moved here for a reason. We thought it was the best place for us in our senior years to live, and was amazed at how many opportunities there were. In closing, I would say I would welcome the chance to meet with you individually or in small groups to discuss your concerns before you vote, and for you to probe deeper into how I think in my background if you want to. Thank you much.
Okay, thank you all very much. Just to remind you that the vote for the new GRF board members will be by the corporate members, not the residents, in November. We will replay this Meet the Candidates meeting for anybody who has not seen it or wants to go back and look at some of the things that were said. Tuesday and Thursday of next week, Tuesday of the following week, Wednesday of the following week, and Thursday of the following week. Now, each of our candidates goes up to Channel 6 and records a candidate statement, which will be played on each Tuesday at 6 p.m. and on Wednesday, November 6th at 6 p.m. So just watch Channel 6. All of you who maybe have not really discovered Channel 6, Channel 6 is the way to keep up with what's going on in the village. think that's all that we have for today. And so it's my privilege to thank, first of all, our two corporate secretaries, Michaela and Paul, and all of you for coming and showing interest, and all of you watching out there on TV6. Hope you now know who our candidates are. This meeting is adjourned.